This video is brought to you by FS Academy. FS Academy offers a range of professional tutorial packages for Microsoft Flight Simulator. Each FS Academy package comes with a number of tutorials, as well as a comprehensive manual which will expand upon the theory of the content covered. The FS Academy series is created and taught by a real-world Airbus A320 captain, so the instruction throughout is both accurate and informed. And the entire FS Academy range will be on sale over the festive period. Hello again everyone, and welcome back to the channel. In today's video we are taking another look at FS Academy. Previously we carried out our VFR skills check. Today we're going to be taking it up a notch and flying our IFR skills test. Once again, for those of you who are unfamiliar with FS Academy, it's a series of mission packs available for Microsoft Flight Simulator, which takes you all the way through from the basics of VFR flying, right through to flying the heavy jets, namely the Airbus A320. Obviously, the native training facilities within the sim are a little bit lackluster, and FS Academy certainly looks to address that. For our flight today, we are currently on the ground at Liverpool Airport, and we're going to be departing outbound towards the Wallasey VOR. From Wallasey, we're going to be tracking inbound towards the Howden NDB, and at Howden, we're going to be flying the NDB approach onto runway 22. I haven't flown a real NDB approach in many, many years now, and even in the sim, I very rarely fly them. They can be a little bit of a pain to fly at times, to be frank. Nonetheless, they do offer up a nice challenge, so I'm actually looking forward to seeing what I can achieve here today. Once we've made our NDB approach, we're going to be making a missed approach and heading back towards Liverpool to fly the ILS back in for runway 27. Again, all of this is going to be single pilot IFR, manually flown, so quite a high workload. We'll have our instructions en route from our instructor. And again, I'll try and talk you through the flight as much as I am able to do. As always guys, I do hope you enjoy the video. If you do, please consider giving it a like and subscribing to the channel. Let's get ourselves comfortable then in the left seat of the Diamond DA62, and we'll await our briefing from our instructor.
So this will be your IR check ride. We're in the DA62 at Liverpool Airport. The profile will be as follows. Depart Liverpool and track to Wallasey VOR. Leave Wallasey course 200. Fly to Howden NDB and perform a hold entry and the NDB approach to runway 22, followed by a missed approach. We'll then fly to Liverpool NDB and fly the ILS back to runway 27. Tolerances are 150 feet altitude holding and 15 knots cruise airspeed. I'll point out a deviation once I see it, but you must correct it in a timely manner. Target 150 knots for all cruise sections of the flight. I'll let you know when you can reduce for landing. All turns are to be made at rate 1. At 150 knots, that gives around 22 degrees as a bank target. I'll note bank angles much greater than this. Also, I'll be looking if you turn at the correct distances on procedure outbound legs. Going too far will cause a fail. It may sound like a lot, but I will be helping you with other things. I'll give you some guidance along the way, such as nav frequencies and details from the charts. We are going to do all of the flying and setting up the radios and configuring the avionics. I'll look after the radio. Our call sign will be exam 09. The first part of the flight requires you to depart Liverpool and fly the 297 course to Wallasey VOR, frequency 114.1. When you've set your nav rate as required, taxi forwards to the holding point for runway 27 and I'll call ready. Good luck.
Okay, so for the first part of the check ride, as our instructor stated, we're going to be tracking inbound towards Wallasey, which is a frequency of 1141. We've already got that visually identified. And we're going to be tracking inbound on a course of 297. Just brought up the DME. We'll set the altitude later on once we've been given our cleared altitude. So just running through the before takeoff checks, the parking brake is set, safety harness is secure, pilot and passenger doors are closed, circuit breakers are checked in, elevator trim is set. Fuel selectors are both on. Rudder trim is set. Flaps, it's going to be a standard takeoff and they are set in the takeoff position. Flight controls. Are full and free. Power levers are set to idle. MFDs are checked. Entered instruments look good. Pitot heat is on. Transponder will set to out. Fuel pumps are on, and the parking brake can come off. So taxiing straight ahead towards the holding point for the active runway. Just coming up on the throttles. And of course we'll be holding short until we have clearance to depart. So gently onto the brakes, holding short runway 27.
Exam 09 ready for departure.
Exam 09 cleared for line up and takeoff runway 27, wind calm.
Clear for takeoff runway 27, exam 09.
Okay, so we are clear for takeoff. Nothing coming down final on runway 27. And looking all clear that wind there as well. Beautiful sunset. Obviously not true IFR conditions here, but obviously nighttime conditions, so that should make for quite an interesting flight nonetheless. And again, hopefully with the sunset there, some quite beautiful views en route as well. So getting ourselves lined up on runway 27. Carried out all of our before takeoff checks. So coming straight up on the throttles. And off we go. So power is set, T's and P's looking good. Easing back on the stick. And we're airborne, we'll tap the brakes, the gear can come up. And we'll pitch to climb around 100 knots, so just trimming out for that. And tracking to keep ourselves, for the time being, down the runway centre line. Up through 300 feet so the flaps can come up.
Make sure to retract your gear and flap as appropriate and fly the 297 course to Wallasey VOR, climbing to maintain 4,000 feet.
Okay, so tracking runway heading for now. You can see the CDI bar just starting to move there. And cleared up to an altitude of 4,000 feet. So we'll just set that there on the PFD. Going to maintain full power here in the climb. I'm not all that familiar with the DA62 power settings, but it seems the aircraft in the sim is probably a little bit underpowered. And as you'll see later on, we've got a speed restriction to maintain throughout most of the profile here, so we'll just set the power accordingly. Waiting until we come onto that CDI bar before we start the turn out to the west. Approaching 2,000 feet, so another 2,000 feet here in the climb. And again, just maintaining that heading of runway 270 outbound from Liverpool for now. So onto that CDI bar, we'll start our turn inbound towards the VOR. Again, we do have that visually identified already. And if we didn't, of course, we'd want to orally identify that otherwise. We're not going to be doing that throughout the flight today, as I just find that the oral identification in the sim is a little bit difficult here at the best of times. It says 297, 1 to go on the altitude. We'll centre up the heading bug. And we'll just bring up bearing 1 there as well, just to give us an RMI inbound towards the station. We'll need that again later on as well to fly the NDB approach, of course. Keeping a good eye on our altitude there, making sure we level the aircraft off at 4,000 feet as per our clearance. And showing 7.4 miles to run inbound towards So just coming up on 4,000 feet, levelling the aircraft off, and letting that speed build up to 150 knots. We'll keep the power on until we get the speed. Trimming the aircraft out as well, of course. And there's our 150, so just coming back off the throttles. And that looks to be a pretty reasonable power setting there. Still showing 100% load, but we have come back off both throttles, as I say. Engine temperatures and pressures look good, same on the fuel state.
The next thing I'd like you to do is leave Wallasey VOR on course 200. You can set your CDI to 200 now, and continue to Wallasey with the bearing needle. Remember to anticipate your turn, using 1% of your ground speed as a reference.
Okay, so we'll set 200 on the CDI bar. That's going to take us just a little bit of time here. And we have 200. As per our instruction there, we'll start the turn using 1% of our ground speed as a reference, so 1.5 miles before we hit the station. We'll start our turn out towards the south. And again, just using the RMI needle, the blue needle there for the time being to track inbound towards Wallasey. Just coming a fraction back further off the power there, just gaining a couple of extra knots. So keeping a really good eye on that DME, getting ready to start the turn. 3 miles to run now towards the station, so another 1.5 miles before we turn southbound. And actually carrying those extra couple of knots there is not going to hurt us. Once we start the turn, we are going to bleed off a little bit of speed, so we'll carry the speed for now and we'll adjust the power setting once we've made the turn. That RMI needle is still pointing directly ahead of us, more or less. And we're not going to correct things too much at this point, we're pretty close into the station. So there's 1.5 miles, making our turn out to the left, and making our 22-degree angle bank turn again, going for a rate 1 turn here. And hopefully if we plan that right, it should have us arriving quite nicely on the CDI bar as we come onto our planned course. Just coming back slightly on the stick there to maintain the altitude. And you can see the RMI needle swinging around there as we fly away from the station. There's the CDI bar. Just reducing that angle back now to come onto our planned heading. We'll just stay slightly out to the right of the CDI bar here. It looks like we're ever so slightly out to the left of our planned course. And as we track further away from the station, that CDI bar should come in a little bit further. Just wait until we've got onto the CDI bar and then we can center up that heading bug again.
Continue flying the course of 200 from Wallasey VOR.
Okay, so we'll continue on course for now. CDI bar is looking good. So we'll center up our heading bug. And we'll just continue to fly outbound on a heading of roughly 200. There doesn't seem to be a whole lot of wind around tonight, so no corrections to make there, which certainly makes the whole exercise quite a bit easier. So we'll just continue to track outbound here until we receive a further clearance from our instructor.
Thank you. The next thing I want you to do is take us to Harden NDB, which is a frequency of 340.
Okay, so we'll come down to ADF DME. You can see we've already got Harden tuned up, 340. We'll go back to PFD options, and on the bearing 1 indication now we'll select ADF. So we now have the ADF needle there on the RMI. We can turn straight towards that, and that'll take us inbound towards the station. Again, just visually identifying that for the purposes of today's flight. And again, turning to our bank angle of 22 degrees to make a rate 1 turn, as per our instruction. Still maintaining 4,000 feet, just a touch low there on the speed, but again we're in the bank currently, so we'll adjust the power setting if needs be once we've got the aircraft straightened up. So pointing directly now inbound towards the Howden NDB. And Howden itself actually has an ILS DME, so we can tune that up as well. 110.35. Already got that pre-selected there on nav 1. We'll tune that across, and that'll give us the DME inbound towards the field. Otherwise, we're just having to monitor the RMI needle there to see the needle flick round as we fly over the top. And this way we can pre-plan things a little bit better by using the DME there to actually judge our distance to run.
As we reach Howden NDB, make an appropriate hold entry. We're approaching roughly from the west, and the hold inbound course is 042. Once the entry is complete, perform the NDB runway 22 approach.
Okay, so we've got to enter into the hold from the west, inbound 042, as per our instruction there. It's a right-hand hold, so outbound is 222. We can make a direct entry therefore, so we'll fly overhead the NDB, and then make a right turn straight into the hold. Again, a rate 1 turn, and then 1 minute outbound before we come back around onto our 042 inbound. We'll be flying the NDB approach. Haven't flown one of those in many years, so quite looking forward to this. I think it should be quite interesting. Plate is 16-2, it's the NDB DME runway 22. We'll brief that fairly quickly here, we've only got 5 miles to run. So inbound course is 227. The NDB we've already got tuned up, 340. Aerodrome elevation is 45 feet. We'll be descending down to 1500 feet as we come overhead the station, and then commencing descent further down to the MDA at 4.5 DME. That's going to be down to an MDA of 450. Missed approach, should we need it, is climbing straight ahead to 2500 feet and then a right turn back towards the DME itself. In terms of the MSA, the highest sector MSA is 3,700 feet. Just coming slightly out to the right again here, just to put the RMI needle straight on the heading bug. Again, just to make sure we're tracking directly in towards the station itself. We can center up our heading bug there as well.
The holding inbound course for Howden hold is 042, allowing you to make a direct entry. You can descend now to altitude 2,500 feet.
Okay, so we'll set 2,500. And we'll just start a gradual descent there, so just reducing the power. We'll go for a descent rate of around 500 feet per minute. Again, as soon as we see that RMI needle flick round, we'll make our rate 1 turn onto a heading of 222. We can start setting that up on the heading bug ahead of time. So there goes the needle, and there's 222 on the heading, going into our rate 1 turn. There's 1 to go on the altitude. So just keeping a really good eye here on our heading and our altitude, making sure we level off appropriately and roll out on our planned heading for the hold. There's 222 and tracking outbound for 1 minute, currently 4.5 on the time, so we'll turn inbound at 1731.45. And just continuing the descent here, we've got another 300 feet before we need to level off. We'll maintain speed for now, still maintaining 150 knots as per our instructions. And just coming up on 2,500 feet. There's 2.5 on the time, so another 20 seconds outbound. There's our altitude, so again coming up on the power to maintain 2500 and 150 knots. There's 3.5, so 10 seconds to run.
Now make your right turn to harden NDB to complete the direct entry. Level off at 2,500 feet.
Okay, we're level at 2500. We've got 4.5 there on the time, making another rate 1 turn. Inbound now towards the NDB. We're looking for 0.42 inbound. We'll centre up the heading bug again once we're tracking inbound towards the NDB itself. And we can just adjust our course bar there as well to give us an accurate course inbound. 0.42. We can use that as well as a reference against the RMI needle there. Again, just bleeding off a couple of knots here in the turn. Just coming up slightly higher on the power there. We're back at 140 knots. We really want to be maintaining 150. There goes the CDI bar, but that's in reference to the ILS, so we can disregard that for now. And just coming up on our inbound back towards the NDB, so getting ready to roll wings level once again. There's 0.42.
So for the NDB approach, leave harden NDB on a course of 0.58 to the ILS DME of 7.5 miles. The ident is India Hotel Delta November and is preset in your nav1 standby. You can click the swap button to swap nav1.
Okay, it says 0.58. We've already got that RLS DME tuned up, so that's one less task for us. Just using the RMI needle there for now. Looks like we've got about another 1.5 miles to run. You can see there the RMI needle is getting fairly sensitive now. And we're going to be making a right turn out onto a heading of 0.58. So monitoring that RMI needle, getting ready for the turn.
So now leave harden NDB course 0.58 to 7.5 miles DME. Remain above 1,510 feet until you reach the final approach fix at 4.5 miles inbound on the approach. You can now set your speed as you wish.
There goes the RMI. We'll leave the altitude just for now, otherwise we're going to end up getting a little bit lower necessarily. So tracking outbound 0.58.
Exam 09 beacon outbound, intending to perform a missed approach from minima.
Exam 09, Roger, standard missed approach.
So we're performing the NDB approach for runway 22, but we're not going to land off of this approach. When you reach your minima of 450 feet, I'd like you to perform a missed approach. The missed approach from 22 is to maintain a course of 227 until reaching 2,500 feet, then make a right turn back to harden NDB, maintaining 2,500.
Okay, so as instructed, we're going to be flying the NDB approach. We've already briefed that up, including the missed approach, and we're expecting to make a missed approach at the MDA, 450 feet. Still tracking outbound for now, 0.58. And we're looking for 7.5 DME before we start the turn. Annoyingly, the sim does seem to automatically set the CDI bar there, so as you can see, we set that up for the outbound, but it's now switched around for the hold there, 222. We'll set 227, that's the inbound. And 3.5 miles, so we've got another 4 miles here before we start the left-hand turn inbound. We'll start a very shallow descent here as well now. We can descend down to 1,510 feet, but we'll descend down to 1,600 just to keep a little bit of margin there. And then we'll maintain 1,600 again until we're 4.5 DME inbound, and then we can descend down on a 3-degree slope towards the MDA. Get our downwind checks out of the way, so the brakes are checked and off, undercarriage will hold, mixtures are rich, fuel pumps are on, fuel quantity is checked, Flight instruments and engine instruments are checked, landing light is on and harness is secure. We're just going to come slightly left here on the heading. The RMI there reading 060, we want 058, so we're ever so slightly out to the right, of course, currently. And probably something we'll have to cover in another lesson, but essentially we're pulling the tail of the RMI needle there back round to where we want it. If we were looking at the head of the needle, then we'd have to push it in the direction that we want. Okay, just coming up on 7 DME, so another 0.5 miles will start the turn. Again, a left-hand turn inbound 227. And there's 7.5 DME.
There's 7.5 miles, turn left onto the approach course of 227. The minimum is 450 feet.
So there's our right one turn out to the left onto our course of 227. For now, just descending down to that 1600 feet. Waiting until we see 4.5 DME before we descend further. And once we're tracking inbound, we'll start to reduce that speed as well. We'll get the gear down and one stage of flat before we commence the final descent. Again though, a really nice challenge this sort of flying. I haven't flown an NDB approach, as I was saying, about 15 years, and single pilot IFR is pretty challenging flying. It keeps you very busy. It's good fun though.
Intercept the approach course of 227, making sure to disregard any ILS indications. You can leave 1,510 feet at DME 4.5 on a 3-degree descent.
So once again, we are disregarding that CDI bar. That's only relevant to the ILS, but we do have our blue needle there, bang on what we're looking for, 227. Just coming up on 1,600 feet. And we'll keep the power setting, we'll let that speed start to reduce. Keeping a good eye on our DME there, we want to be descending at 4.5 miles. We'll actually come further back off the power here again, planning on having the gear down and a stage of flat before we start the descent. And of course, as we reduce the power there and the airspeed reducers, having to trim the aircraft to maintain 1,600 feet. So back into the white arc, we'll take the gear down. And coming up again on the power, we'll maintain around 100 knots for now. We'll take a stage of flap. So speed looking good, coming up on 5.5 DME, another mile there, and we can start the descent. Again, it's a 3-degree slope. Doing about 110 knots, so we're looking for a descent rate there of around 550 feet per minute. For those of you who don't know, 5 times your ground speed is a pretty good reference for rate of descent on a 3-degree slope. There's 5 DME. Just coming slightly out to the right here, we're slightly off to the left of course. You can see there the RMI needle just slightly out to the right of our CDI bar. And there's 4.5 DME, so starting the descent now, down to 450. Again, that's our MDA. And going for 550 feet here as a rate of descent.
We're now reaching the final approach fix, begin a 3-degree descent. Passing 4 miles, altitude 1,350 feet.
Okay, there is 4 miles. We're about 40 feet high there at the moment. That's pretty good. So just making sure we keep the aircraft coming down there, maintaining that 550 feet per minute rate of descent. And the RMI needle's coming back now towards where we want it, so we can start coming back towards 227 on the heading. 3 miles, we're looking for 1030 on the altitude.
Miles, 1,030 feet.
Okay, we're about 30 feet high now. Imagining that we're still in IMC conditions here, we'll maintain config 1 until we're visual with the runway. And just pushing the nose down again there, really aiming for that 550 feet per minute rate of descent. TDME, we should be at 710.
ahead. Go around from your minima of 450 feet.
Okay, so we're pretty much bang on the profile here. We'll just continue to fly down to 450 on the altitude. Getting ready for that go around. The go around itself will go full power, of course, pitching up, getting the gear up, and then once we're climbing away nicely, we'll get the flaps up.
Minimum. Go around straight ahead, climb altitude 2,500.
Okay, it says full power, gear can come up. Pitching the aircraft up, again looking to climb at around 100 knots. Climbing away nicely, above 300 feet, flaps can come up.
709 going around.
Exam 09, roger, climb to altitude 2,500 feet, then turn right to Hotel Alpha Whiskey.
Okay, so climbing straight ahead, we'll set 2,500 feet. That's 2,500. We're just going to build up a little bit of speed here as we climb away from the NDB. Otherwise, we're going to be making our turn inbound back towards the station, fairly close in. So we'll climb around 140 knots here. And just coming up on 1 to go. Just adjust our heading bug there onto a heading of 227. And just keeping that centered up. So once we've leveled off at 2,500 feet, making a right turn back towards Howden NDB. And currently showing about a mile outbound from the station. Getting ready once again to level the aircraft off, this time at 2,500. And again, just letting that speed build up to 150 knots, and then we'll make our right-hand turn inbound.
Now maintain 2,500 feet and make a right turn back to Hardin NDB to complete the missed approach. Accelerate to speed 150 knots.
Okay, good on the speed, good on the altitude. 2.5 miles from the station, again making a rate 1 turn. And making sure they're not to climb the aircraft. Nice and easy for us once again. We just need to follow the RMI needle, so we're just making our right turn until we have the blue needle there, straight off the heading bug, or in this case straight off the heading reference. Just going to tighten up our turn a little bit here. Again, we're pretty close in towards the station, and we're going to end up flying a bit of a DME arc around the NDB otherwise. So just going with 30 degrees angle of bank for now. And once again, temperatures and pressures looking good, fuel state's still good. We've still got plenty of fuel here for another approach. Or indeed a diversion, expecting that we're going to be returning to Liverpool in just a moment's time. Getting ourselves back up towards 2,500 feet here, just coming up a little bit on power there as well to maintain 150 knots. And that RMI needle now pointing straight off the nose, so heading back towards Howden. Showing 2 miles to run. And again, the needle pretty sensitive there currently. So we'll just maintain heading. 068 looks pretty good. We'll center up that heading bug once again. Another mile to run. From here, ordinarily, we would be awaiting further air traffic instructions.
Next, I'd like you to leave Hardin NDB on a course of 045, still maintaining 2,500 at speed 150.
Okay, so just coming overhead the NDB, we need to track outbound on a course of 045. For now, we'll just turn onto our heading. And again, we're flying the tail of the needle now, that's up by the heading bug, so if we need to adjust our course based off the RMI needle there, we're pulling the tail. You'll see what I mean in a moment. Currently you can see there the tail out to the right of the heading bug, so if we fly further left, we're going to pull the tail around onto our desired course. Looks so like we've managed that pretty well there, so we can actually just turn straight on to 045. We're already on a good course outbound from the station.
Next, I'd like you to take us to Liverpool NTB, frequency 349.5, still maintaining 2,500.
Okay, so we've already got that pre-selected. We'll bring up the Liverpool NDB, 349.5, we'll hit enter, that'll transfer that across.
Reaching Liverpool NTB, we'll perform the ILS approach to runway 27. The beacon outbound course is 064 to 7.7 miles. Tune the ILS frequency of 111.75 into nav1.
So we'll tune that up, 111.75. And we do have the Liverpool ILS visually identified. Interestingly, the quoted outbound course and distance there are different from the chart I'm using. I assume that the check ride here uses a slightly older version of the chart, but of course we'll go with our instructions. So 064 outbound, 7.7 DME. Now though, just continuing to track inbound on the Liverpool NDB. You can see again there the RMI needle straight off the nose. And we've got 4 miles to run off the ILS DME there till we hit Liverpool. Yeah, beautiful, lovely, clear evening, so pretty easy to make out any visual references along the way. But for now, we'll play the game. We'll continue to track in on our instruments. So we'll wait until we're overhead the station. It'll then be a right turn onto our heading of 064. Already got 266 selected there for the inbound course for the ILS. And looks like we're already picking up the localizer and the glide slope currently. Once again, temperatures and pressures looking good. Fuel state is coming down through about 7 US gallons in each main tank now. And we've got about 9 gallons in each auxiliary tank, so plenty of fuel again for the approach and any missed approach should we need it. And 3 miles now to run towards the airfield. As we did on the last approach, once we're tracking outbound, we'll get our downwind checks out of the way. Once we come overhead the field, we can descend down to 2,000 feet. Not really in a hurry there to do that though, since we're only at 2,500. Now we'll have a little bit of time there as well, leveled off at 2,000 before we descend on the ILS. Starting our descent from 5.9 DME. 3 miles to run till the turn. Again, we'll just quickly brief up the chart. So 111.75 on the frequency as discussed. Course inbound 266. Aerodrome elevation is 81 feet. Highest MSA 3,500.
So now we leave Liverpool NTB on the outbound of 064 to 7.7 DME. Descent to altitude 2,000 feet until ILS interception. You have free speed.
Okay, so turning right onto heading of 064. As I say, we'll just hold off on that descent for now. We'll maintain the speed and the altitude. Cleared though down to 2,000 feet, so we'll set that ahead of time. There's 2,000. And good on the heading. We're looking for 7.7 DME before we start the turn inbound. So as I say, highest sector MSA 3,500 feet. Maintaining 2,000 feet till we hit the glide slope. And out of an MDA there of 278 feet. Missed approach, should we need it, is climb straight ahead to 1,500 feet, then a right turn back towards the NDB, climb into 2,000 feet, and then as directed by air traffic thereafter. Getting those downward checks out of the way then, brakes are checked and off, undercarriage will hold, mixture is rich, fuel pumps are on, Once again, fuel quantities look good, flight instruments and engine instruments are checked, landing lights on, harness is secure. Another mile and then we can start our right turn. Now we'll just start that gradual descent now down to 2,000 feet. Keeping the power for now, we'll keep the speed on. We'll start reducing the speed as we come inbound towards Liverpool. And just coming up on our 7.7 miles.
Here's 7.7 miles, make a right-hand turn to intercept the ILS, frequency 111.75, and make a full stop landing. Your minima is 278 feet.
So there's our 22 degrees angle bank, just reducing the power there, putting the aircraft into a very gentle descent. And as we discussed, the MDA 278 feet, maintaining 2,000 feet until we're on the glide. This time, of course, we are relying on the CDI bar. That's giving us our localizer indication. And again, having flown a rate 1 turn here, we should come on to the localizer very much as we roll out on course. There goes the CDI bar. And 200 feet to go there before the level off. You can already see the runway there off in the distance. Coming nicely onto the loc. We'll centre up the heading bug once we're established inbound. And getting ready to level off here at 2,000 feet. Keep the power setting again, letting that speed start to reduce. There's wings level, we'll centre up the heading bug. And just as a reminder, starting the descent at 5.9 DME, currently at 7.6. Speed rolling back slowly there, absolutely fine for the time being. Once we're back in the wide arc, we'll take the gear down, we can take the flaps as well. And again, just centering up our heading bug. So 1 mile till we start our descent on the glide. You can see the glide slope just coming in there. Keep reducing that power, we'll take the gear down. And just coming up on the throttle again, looking to maintain around 110 knots. Take stage flap. And there's our 5.9 DME just coming onto the glide slope.
Runway 27, wind 260 at 4.
And finally, make a full stop landing on runway 27 to complete your check ride.
So coming down the ILS, speed is 100 knots, so looking for about 500 feet per minute, again based on that 5% of our ground speed. With no wind today, our indicated airspeed is more or less our ground speed. Of course, though, we can use the glide slope indication here as well as a reference, and we are just a touch high here on the glide, so just increasing that descent rate momentarily. Get ourselves now back towards 550 feet per minute. Adjusting the power to maintain the descent rate here and trimming for 100 knots. Ever so slightly out to the left of the localizer, so correcting for that. Just reducing our vertical speed there again a little bit as we trend slightly low on the glide slope. We'll maintain takeoff config on the flaps until short final here. We'll get rid of the rest of our finals checks though, so pitch is full fine, undercarriage is down, flaps to come, landing clearance has been received, and the runway is clear. Just going to shift our seating position up a little bit here. The view over the nose of the DA62 is not particularly brilliant. And just getting a little bit higher on the glide, so reducing the power. Still got 2 reds, 2 whites on the PAPI. Feels like we've got a slight crosswind out to the right here. We keep getting blown out to the left of the loke. Okay, back on the glide. And looking good there on the localizer. So we'll take landing flap. That's our landing checks complete. We'll let the speed roll back to around 80 knots. Again, just trending a touch low, so correcting. Looking good now on the speed. And coming back onto the PAPI, we should see 2 whites in just a moment's time. Very high nose up attitude in the aircraft, it feels like. I think that's just the visibility though over the nose. Pitch looks pretty reasonable, doing about 3 degrees nose up. A little bit high here now, so coming back off the power, increasing that descent rate. Slightly sloppy there on the vertical profile, I would say, on that approach. In the touchdown zone though, coming off the power, holding the DA62 off. There's touchdown. We'll just let the aircraft roll through. For the first section of the rollout here, we can see the high-speed exit off in the distance. I think the first exit off on the right is actually heading off in the opposite direction, so we'll continue to roll through to the second exit. We'll actually just come up on the power here slightly, get ourselves off the runway a little bit quicker. Yeah, as I say, pretty happy with that profile overall, other than the RLS, which should in theory be the easiest bit. I think we're a little bit sloppy at maintaining the glide. Again, I think the DA62 feels a touch strange in pitch at low speed, but I'm making my excuses there. Anyway, coming onto the brakes, and we'd vacate off to the right, but stopping on the runway for the sake of the check today.
Your check ride is now complete, and I'm pleased to say you've passed your virtual IR check ride. You successfully maintained altitude, speeds and courses to and from VOR and NDBs, performed both precision and non-precision approaches, one to a missed approach and the other to a full stop landing. Flying IFR opens up new possibilities. You can now confidently navigate whilst in cloud and make approaches and landings when the weather turns against you. The techniques you've learned apply to all types of aircraft, from the Cessna 152 we began with, all the way up to passenger airliners. Congratulations.
So there you go guys, IFR skills test passed, and we are moving onwards and upwards on the FS Academy ladder. As I say, with the exception there of that ILS at the end, I was actually quite happy with the profile overall. The NDB approach seemed to work out pretty well despite my lack of recency on that one. We'll be back again in a future video taking another look at a different FS Academy package. Most likely we'll be taking a look at the Navigator content next. Once again guys, I do hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, please consider giving it a like. If you want to see more content from the channel, including more FS Academy videos, then please consider subscribing as well. Once again, I would like to say a very big thank you to all of you who support the channel financially, namely my channel members and patrons, as well as a few generous donations. As always, I do hope all of you are having a great day wherever you are. Take really good care, and I will see you all again soon.